Do you know people that live in that building across? Like, has anyone ever said anything to you? Like, what are you guys doing in there?
I don't know any of them, but I've been butt-ass naked here so many times.
Yeah. So they know you well.
Yeah. Well, apparently the people over there get butt-ass naked too. That's what Hudson was telling me.
Oh my god.
I feel like I'm always butt naked in my room, and I'm sure my neighbors see me.
It's like it's kind of a.
But I don't really care.
Yeah.
It's a part of the vibe here.
It's a part of the vibe of New York.
Like people love that. I feel like they come in New York City, they see that, they're like, oh, this is so New York.
Yeah, it's literally the only place you would get it.
Yeah. That's
What's going on, fam? Welcome to Eat My Assets, episode 10.
and first one of 2023.
Oh, yo.
Right? You're
New
kicking
year, new
off
me.
like- yeah.
Oh, and new us. Here with Mr. C, he's from Mr. B. No, he's from Berkeley,
Oh.
or went to school in Berkeley, not from Berkeley.
Correct.
From SoCal. But maybe to start off the show, maybe telling the audience a little bit about what you do and how much you make per year.
Sure, yeah. So I can give a little background about myself. So like Mike said, originally from Southern California, went to school in Northern California at Berkeley, and then I moved out to New York City just over a year ago. So my first job out of school, I was working actually in finance and investment banking. Only lasted like 6 months. Honestly, hated it. So basically what happened was I had some internships and some work experience working at like early stage companies. So I knew that's where I wanted to get into eventually. So after 5 months in banking, I was like, okay, might as well just go into early stage company now. So I ended up at the company called...
Wait. So were you in banking? You actually took a banking job after college?
Yeah. So, well, it's actually a little funnier because I graduated from college in May of 2020, which obviously was it February, March of 2020, COVID hit.
Same.
So, yeah. So what happened was I was supposed to do consulting after school, had a job offer lined up to do that, and then April or May of 2020, they're like, hey, due to unprecedented times, we're gonna have to push your start date back to January of 2021. I was like, I'm not waiting 6 months to start work. So I re-recruited, and there wasn't that many options. So ABC, it's accounting, banking, consulting. So just kind of following the path, I was like, okay, I should probably do one of those. Didn't want to do accounting because I thought it was really boring.
Every kid in business school just talks about that in Berkeley. It's either ABC.
I wouldn't say it's talked about, but it's kind of an unspoken rule. So accounting, I was not doing that. Banking, I was I don't really want to be a corporate drone and slave. So I was probably not going to do that. And then consulting, I was okay, that sounds strategy sounds kind of fun, even though I didn't really know what it would entail.
Didn't you do a banking internship though, or am I mistaken there?
So I actually didn't do a banking internship. I did a corporate development internship at a larger tech company, which was financy, and then I also worked in venture capital for a summer out in Tel Aviv, Israel, which was really, really cool.
How much did each pay? What did that look like? And what years were you doing that?
Yeah, so after my sophomore year of college is when I went to Tel Aviv. They actually didn't pay me, but they paid for all my expenses, my housing. So they paid for my flights to get out there. They paid for my housing, food, basically everything that I would need other than going out. Obviously that was on me. So it was honestly ended up being kind of a net negative summer. And then when I was doing the corporate development internship, I was making $35 an hour, and I was working 40 hours a week. So I'm not sure what that...
Can we do the math there real quick, Rons? And what year was that? That was your junior year?
Yeah, so it was a summer of 2019.
How'd you even find that? What'd you do to corporate development? What the hell is that?
Yeah, so I knew about Corp Dev actually from the summer before.
Corp Dev even has a name.
Yeah, Corp Dev. So I knew about that from the summer before because the managing partner at the VC I worked at, he did Corp Dev work at Yahoo for 10 years. So when I was re-recruiting, I was like, oh, Corp Dev seems sweet because a combination of things. VC, one, is really hard to break into right out of school. And then secondly, when you can be a VC, you can kind of be in a VC within a larger organization. So get all those benefits, get all those learnings, et cetera.
Wait, so that's what Corp Dev is?
Correct. Yeah, it's just helping with mergers and acquisitions of, so the company I worked at, Indeed, the team I was a part of, we acquired Glassdoor.
Oh.
That's pretty
so
cool.
That you kind of help with vetting out on the financial side. Does it make sense to acquire this company? And then once you actually acquire it, how to integrate them into the larger organization.
Wow.
That reminds me of Silicon Valley. Anytime I hear VC,
It sounds a lot. It sounds a lot sexier than it really is because
Because corporate.
yeah, because
Yeah, true.
I ended up being so bored that entire summer. Frankly, it was probably because I was working in the HR tech space, which didn't really excite me.
Yeah.
And I was just like doing a bunch of due diligence on these like, early mid-size HR companies that Indeed was thinking about acquiring.
It's like a 19-year-old.
Yeah. And like that's the thing, as a 19-year-old, like I would go to, like these like board like meetings that were like would be like a board member there, like very important people. And I feel like everything I said they would just take with a grain of salt. So in the corporate world, I
This
feel
kid's like
it's-
8 years old.
yeah, they're like, this guy
Like,
still
what is he doing here?
this guy hasn't even hit puberty yet. What is he doing here?
like, when's
Like
his voice
go,
gonna drop?
go get us some coffee or lunch.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I
By
was
the
like,
way,
sure.
it was 72,000 for 35 an hour, 40 to,
Oh, so if you work, okay, so if you work full time, it'd be like 72K.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
But how many, did you work like a 10-week stint? How did that work?
I think I want to say it was 12 weeks.
12 weeks.
Yeah, 12 weeks, 40 hours a week. So
That's still good. Like if
Yeah.
you're working a full-time job as an intern, that's like a lot of money.
yeah, it got me through my
That's it.
senior year
yeah,
for sure.
around 17,000.
Yeah. it got-
That's, wow.
That's crazy.
and the best part about that internship as well was I also
Damn,
didn't have
that's crazy.
Yeah, that's,
actually.
like, really
I'm thinking when I was a
nice.
college kid. I'm like, damn.
yeah,
that's a
it
lot
was
of money.
crazy, and I didn't have to pay for housing because they put me up in San Francisco in this like
Oh, in
unreal
San
spot. Probably the
Francisco?
nicest place I'll live, maybe ever. Hopefully not.
Do you have photos? We don't usually do this, but I actually want to
Yeah.
see what they hooked you up with. Yeah.
And then
let's
we'll put
see
it
these
up.
photos.
We'll put it up.
Yeah, we'll share it with everyone else what these
Just
photos look
airdrop
like.
those after.
And then also we got free lunches. I'm going on like my Snapchat memories right now, so I'm gonna have to. They gave us lunch every day, and then they also like to-go boxes. So like me trying to like be cheap and save money and just be frugal, like I would take a to-go box every day at
Oh
lunch and
my
save it for dinner.
God.
And then at the office they had like amazing benefits too, where it was like there's like these like $5 like juices, smoothie bar, like all this stuff. But they also just had like cottage cheese, hard boiled eggs, like an entire like basically like a little convenience store.
Just cop them and take them.
So
out.
I literally didn't pay for food that entire summer.
Also
That's-
in San
Other than on the
Francisco.
weekends.
Like so expensive normally.
Well, it
though.
kind of just shows, especially during that time,
That's
that
true.
those companies over there just had money to blow.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they I was actually studying abroad in Barcelona when I got the offer because like I interviewed in like late December and then right after the new year I had gone to Barcelona for study abroad, and I remember them calling me and being like, hey, you got the job offer, whatever. And I was like, awesome. Like, how much is like what is the pay, whatever. And I was fully anticipating me have to like negotiate, et cetera. And they're like, oh, it's gonna be $35 an hour. And I was like,
Sick.
yeah. I
Are
was
you
like,
sure?
I was like, I wasn't gonna budge and be
work
like, oh,
that
I need 40.
Do people actually like you on the corp dev team? Like other people in the company?
Yeah. So there was one guy. His name was.
Like, do people like
Well, they
you?
actually all hated me, and that's why I didn't end up getting a job offer there. No, I was I was contemplating working there to be completely honest with you, but I told my boss, who I was pretty close to, I was like, even if I got an offer here, I don't think I'd work here because it really didn't excite me. Like a lot of people will do corp dev after doing like banking. And like at first I was like, oh, I'll just like skip the banking process and just go right into corp dev. But I was like, I was so bored that I was like, and I didn't feel like I was learning that much.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I found it.
Oh, I'm so hyped.
Yeah.
Holy
Wow.
Wait, you haven't even got to the good part. Yeah, it's just the entire view of the Bay Bridge.
That's just all for you
It was me and I had one roommate.
that worked in the company?
Worked at the company.
That looks unreal.
Yeah, that's wild.
Exporters.
This was your junior year, you're saying, right?
I don't know. Do I have you on Snapchat?
My expectations, though, if I lived in that kind of apartment
Yeah, I
junior
do.
year
I Snapchatted
in
too.
San Francisco,
But I could also. Yeah, but the problem was, which is pretty funny, was I asked them if I could just get the stipend money or like the money they were paying for the rent, and like have my own place because I was living in Berkeley and I was like all my friends were like living in the fraternity and I was like that sounds way more fun, but then I wasn't gonna pay double rent and they were like no, you can't, you have to stay in the apartment, like, or you can live there, but we're not going to give you any money. It's like, okay, well,
Yeah,
it
it's
doesn't really
like,
make
yeah.
sense to do that.
Yeah, thanks for that. It's going to be funny for everyone else to see this, and they're going to be like, dude, what the?
Yeah. I remember my parents came up.
It's like a 4.5K apartment for everyone.
probably
No,
more
no, it was,
now.
I actually looked at it. I think it was more. It was like 8 or 12.
Oh, you have another roommate.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh.
It was like $8,000 or $12,000. And,
Jeez.
it was ridiculous. And I remember my parents visiting and just like their jaws dropped and they're like, what the heck? And I was like, yeah, I don't know.
How'd you get that job?
Yeah,
That
so
internship?
I honestly, I was trying to get a really good internship for junior year, and I was just applying to a ton of different places. Wasn't really having that many good bites. Like, I had a lot of first round, second round interviews. And so then I got like a little more like strategic. So like if I knew a company that I applied for on Handshake, which is like, are you familiar with Handshake?
Yeah, it's
I used to-
the
It's like-
college recruiting.
yeah, it's like-
thing,
it's like-
It's like a LinkedIn
it's like-
for college students,
yeah, it's like
basically.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's just like companies will post on like like UC Berkeley's Glassdoor page, and it's like only for UC Berkeley students or et cetera. And so I just found a bunch of jobs on Glassdoor, and then I'd go to LinkedIn, find like it was corp dev, was like who's involved in corporate development at the company, and then I'd just ping them on LinkedIn and be like, hey, I'm super interested in working at your company for this and this reason. Like, would love to hop on a 10 or 15 minute if you're call if you're open to chatting.
And that's how you landed it.
That is how I landed it, because the guy was. The funniest part is he didn't get back to me on LinkedIn, but when I did like the first round was like with HR, and I pushed me along, and then he's like, yeah, I made sure that you got put, because like he was like, there was like a few thousand applicants,
Wow.
but we pushed you like right into HR and then to talk to me, because like you gave the extra effort of like going out of your way to try to reach out.
Oh,
Wow, you
snap.
hear that?
So yeah,
It
good-
really
good
makes a
tip.
difference.
They're
Don't-
actually looking.
They
So-
are.
Yeah, well, it makes complete sense. Even at those larger companies, like if you're going for like a startup, early stage, like yeah, like if you reach out to like the CEO or whoever it is that you want to talk to, like that's gonna make big leaps and bounds. But I think it's pretty like no one really does it for larger companies in a sense, because you're just like you'll get nowhere. But at the same time, like
Even
it works for
startups,
me.
Never
people
know.
don't really do that. Because, like, I've hired a lot inside of the company I'm at now, or have helped hire, and I've still to this day, have never gotten reached out prior to or during the interview process, because most people were afraid.
Oh.
Well, maybe they're not afraid, but in my mind, I was like, why would not reach out to me and just be like, hey, I'm interested in this position? Like,
Yeah, well, it's funny because not only that worked for Indeed, but when I got luckily for that consulting job I was talking about, I had an internal referral for someone that worked at the company, so I didn't really need to do that. But then when I got that banking job, I did the exact same thing. I reached out to like one of the analysts on the team. We chatted for like 30 minutes, and he was like, it was like a small shop. So basically he's like, yeah, like I think you're great. Like I'm going to push you right through and get you in to talk to like the MDs.
Yeah.
And so that worked out very, very well.
especially for a startup, I could see that.
Yeah, for any smaller company too, leaps and bounds will help a ton, push you through the process. But a lot of times, like if there's so many qualified people, right? So all these qualified people are applying. So like basically you're just getting based on like 10-second view of your resume. So like personalize yourself a bit more and just like come off actually as a human. That's like another entry point. I actually have a buddy who did something insane, which was he really wanted a job at I forget where it was like Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley, et cetera. And he had like been applying to all these banks, like not getting anything. So he's like, screw it. He threw on while we were in college, he threw on a suit, went into FiDi in San Francisco, and just started handing out his resumes. And
That is-
one of the guys, like after like literally 10 minutes, one of the, I don't know who on the team it was, but someone like pretty high up was like, hey, come into my office. They chatted for like 15 minutes, and the guy was like, I loved how ambitious you are, and like you're doing this. Like, have you already applied? He's like, yeah. He's like, okay, I will get you a first round interview.
That makes me so happy. I love stories like that. All you need to do is get your
Yeah,
name out there.
It's kind of
That's
old school,
crazy.
but it's like
Yeah.
now
How
with like
old
the tech age and like everything being digital, people just rely on that, which is like looking at myself. I was fully relying on it. I can just keep applying on LinkedIn. Like I'll get looks, but think of how many thousands of applicants are doing that. So like to set yourself apart, you have to kind of go above and beyond.
Even at
That's
like
true.
a bigger company, I would say look at the position you're applying to and then reach out to people either in the position right above you or that position.
Totally.
And reach out on LinkedIn and have a conversation. And you never know, if they like you, they'll tell their manager. That's
Yeah.
what I used to do for internships.
Yeah, because I would definitely tell my manager if someone came in that I really liked. But I think what's interesting about what you said is old school is definitely coming in to play now
Yeah.
because it's a way to break through like the noise.
100%.
You know what people hear. But from the college perspective, did you have to like do finances on your own, or did you come out of school and student debt? Like what?
Yeah. So I was actually really fortunate on two things. So first was I didn't come out of school with any college debt. My parents supported me. It was
Same here.
amazing. So I'm super lucky for that. But coming out of like high school, like I wasn't super smart with my finances. I didn't know that much about anything. But my grandpa had always been like very savvy, and he was like he worked in the public sector, like nothing to do with finance, but he always just read like a ton of books, like was so knowledgeable of it. So he would like start sending me books, I don't know, probably like 16, 17, 18. At first, like, what the hell is he sending me? But then I started reading. I was like, oh, this stuff is super interesting. So I actually got an internship my freshman year working as like a financial advisor or like a financial, it's like working for a financial advisor. But like I was just the intern, whatever, at Northwestern Mutual, like selling insurance. So
Are you registered to give financial advice here right now?
I don't know. I think it expired. No, it definitely expired.
I have to brush up.
But at the same time, that summer I learned so much and like put a lot of what I learned that summer into play, which we can talk about more when I elaborate on kind of what I do with my investments and things like that.
How much are you making as a financial advisor your freshman year?
That freshman year, I don't remember, and it wasn't very much.
It was like $10 an hour or something? Like
it was something ridiculous.
Well, California,
I think it was like $12. I think it was like $12 an hour or something.
Is it the minimum wage there, like 15?
I think
now
the minimum wage
is.
is now, but you got to remember this was like 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
This was like 3 years ago.
I was like 15, yeah.
Gotta remember, different time.
Yeah.
Different time back then. But moving forward to what you do now, what's your official role? Like, how much do you make?
Yeah, so I work at a startup. I am on the sales team, so my official role is I'm an account executive there. So the way it works in sales typically is you have a base salary, and then you can make money off commission. So like OTE is both your salary and your commission combined. So OTE stands for on target earnings. So my OTE is 170 grand, which is broken up between like 50-50. So 85,000 base and then 85,000 variable.
Yeah. I mean, tech sales, no secret.
Yeah, it's kind of absurd, honestly, because when I was working banking before, like I remember being like so frustrated, but like I wasn't making that much. I wasn't like a really good bank. I was still making like a decent amount. And I remember calculating how much I was making per hour, and it was like less than $20 an hour.
Oh, really?
And then I switched to tech, and I was like, I was still working hard, but like 50-hour weeks versus like 80-hour weeks, like those extra 30 hours, like they really break down what you'd be making hourly. And like coming right out of school, I'm like, how much am I really making? I was like, so like when I was doing banking, I forget what it was. I think I calculated to be like $18 or $19 an hour. I was like, damn, in California, I was like, I could go be working at Subway and I'd be making the same amount.
And how pay you well.
Yeah. But then again, I was really like early in my career, I was just trying to learn as much as possible. So that's what I was trying to optimize for.
Yeah, that makes sense. And how old were you when you got that job?
22.
When you got the AE job?
Oh, sorry. So my path was I did banking for literally 6 months. So I turned 22 in May, started banking that August. So I was still 22, did until like February, March. Then so I turned 23 in May. So like I did a year as a BDR, which is like business development role. It's like the entry level role in sales. So like the ages of like 22 to 23. And I was probably making like around like 95, but then I was able to
for the BDR role?
Yeah, so it was the BDR role was 75,000 base and then $20,000 variable, but I was fortunately did pretty well. So I was able to eclipse like a little bit over 100,000.
It's kind of crazy for entry level sales actually.
Yeah, it is. And then right before I turned 24, I got promoted to an account executive. So I'm still 24 and I've been account executive in that role for like, I don't know, 8-9 months, I think.
How many years of experience did you need, or do you think you need to like be in that role
to become an account executive?
Yeah.
I would say the standard is like 2 years if you're at a larger company. Probably 1 year, a little bit over 1 year as a BDR at a smaller company, and you can pave your path to an AE if you're hitting your metrics and hitting your quota.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. The shift from banking to tech sales.
Yeah.
Was it what was the motivating driver of that? Because clearly it wouldn't be money at that point. Well, you can make good money in tech sales, but you know what I mean? Like,
so actually the funniest thing is it wasn't necessarily like money on my, like W-2, but what really intrigued me was the equity portion of joining a startup. So I joined the company I'm at now, Series A. So I was able to get, I don't know exactly like what % of the company it is, et cetera, but like 10,000 shares. Yeah. And that comes with a 4-year vesting cycle. So the first year you don't hit anything. And then after year 1, you hit your cliff. So you get 25% of it. So then out of that 48 months, you have 12 of those months. So then there's 36 remaining months, and over the next 36 months that you're at the company, you get 136 every single
of what
month.
remains.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
If I explain that.
No, yeah, that was explained really well.
Mhm.
You don't have to look up Carta. You got the.
Yeah, I will say
explanation.
though, equity stuff is super confusing. Honestly, like there's a lot to it, and like luckily I knew people like either worked in VC, and I worked in VC, so like I knew a little bit, but then like I got pretty in depth on what was going on and like how many shares were working, like what the liquidation things were, et cetera. I remember asking who was going to be my manager, and he's like, I don't know, let me ask like my VP. And then I became friendly with the VP like a year in. He's like, yeah, I remember you asking me these questions, and I was like, who the is this kid? Because I've hired directors that didn't even ask these types of questions.
Good for you.
So that was pretty funny.
I asked. I have a funny story about this, but basically I was not sober. It was like 4 a.m. I was with my VP, and I thought I knew stock options well, but it just gets so confusing sometimes, especially when you're not sober. And you start talking about it. We got into like an hour fight about why I should exercise my options right now in the event the company were to get sold a year from now.
Yeah.
Oh.
So what that means is like, he was basically trying to tell me that if we got sold in less than a year, I'd be paying capital gains. So let's say I exercise my option at like $1 each, but then if we got bought out, they're now worth $2 each.
Oh, gotcha.
I'd have to pay tax on that dollar
The short-term capital
difference of
gains.
short-term
Yeah.
capital gains. But I was really drunk, and I was like,
No.
that makes no sense at all if I exercise my options. I woke up the next morning, I was like, what the hell was I said?
I was going to say the funniest part is that as I imagine that was in like the peak of like the like kind of tech, bubble. So like everything was literally going up, up and up.
Yeah.
So I'm almost positive once you exercise, your options, you're taxed at what the valuation is right then. So if you would assume that the valuation would go way up, then you would be taxed as if it was worth,
Exactly.
the amount previously, which is what your boss sounded like he was alluding to. However, it's funny because now times have changed and everything's kind of like tech valuation have gone way down. So if for instance, your company was valued at $1 and then now it's valued at 50 cents, it would actually be, work in your, it wouldn't be work in your favor to had bought them. So it always works both ways.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a really good point. But I thought that was just a funny story of like something that happened to me before. But with that, so the total, what was the OTE? It was 170K, as mentioned.
Yeah.
With the 170K, how do you break that up over the year? Because I'm guessing too, like in reality, you can't account for the commission, so you have to somewhat budget based on the base, or do you not do that?
Yeah, so I do a bunch. Honestly, like I feel like I live pretty under my means. So what I mean by that is I try to save a decent amount of my salary. So this is the way it works is I get paid at the end of, I'm fortunate, a lot of companies will pay out every quarter. So like 4 times a year on your variable income, I get paid out every month on it, which makes it a lot easier.
Oh, for your commission you're talking about. But your base is every
Yeah, my base I get paid bi-monthly, so every 2 weeks. So I have that, and then the portion where you don't know what's going to come is what the variable comp is.
It's fun. It's like a surprise every time. Like,
It is a surprise every time, and that's honestly why sales, like people want to work their ass off because they know that their check will be that much bigger and can be. And you have like literally like my hard work is going to make could potentially add like a 0 to my my pay stub.
That's crazy.
So yeah.
But how do you budget?
So how do I budget? So I kind of work backwards. So rather than thinking about how much I'm making, like if there's like a common rule where it's like you want to be saving like 20% of your income minimum, which is like a very good rule. But at the same time, I kind of backed into what 20% of my savings would be, and I want to be saving more than that anyway. Do you want me to just walk you through like my investments?
Yeah.
Kind of show you what it is.
Yeah. This is great.
Yeah, I love it.
Roz, get the keyboard ready.
I am. I'm ready.
Yeah. So the first thing I invest in for my paycheck is my 401k, and I put the bare minimum to get my company's match. So it's 4%. I'll put 4% in.
Of your salary.
Correct.
401k.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the second bucket is my Roth IRA. I feel like people probably watching this, like, what's the difference between like a 401k or an IRA and like a Roth IRA?
Well, wouldn't you qualify? How do you qualify for a Roth IRA?
Yeah, so you're right. So you're technically it's over 125,000.
Yeah.
But there's like backdoor Roths, etc. But for like easy use, we can just call it a Roth IRA.
Yeah.
So that's $6,000 that you can put in each year. So I put $500 into that every single year.
Gotcha.
Or sorry, every single
Every
month
single month.
to be $6,000.
Max it out.
Yeah, and then after that,
How much are you left with after that? So let's say after the 401k, after the Roth IRA.
so
On a month, on a given month.
I don't know. These
Or
are,
even what was the starting? Do you know what was the starting point at that point in time? Like, what did you start off with, and then
what do you mean by what did I start off with?
so like I started at 5k, and then I put this much in the Roth, this much in the 401k.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I
what
can
is-
pull it up right now on my phone, honestly. So I first started literally when I was 18. I had the internship. I learned about a Roth IRA. So I put like $6,000 in my first year.
The fuck? Where'd you
and
get
then-
Yeah,
$6,000?
from the job.
From
the
my internship, and I had
72K?
been saving.
Oh my god.
Or
I've been saving
17K?
a lot. Like when I was in high school, I worked at like my local little league, and I was literally like the guy that like flipped burgers and like worked at the snack bar. So I was
the
paid on that.
concessions?
So I just saved all that money, and I think technically, like according to like you're only supposed to put in money that you earned that specific year. But I just had savings, so I used that $6,000 and put it into my Roth IRA. IRS, don't find me.
I was gonna say, should we beep that
They don't
out?
know you, so it's all
Yeah.
True, they don't know you.
Yeah,
Until they
Mr.
hunt me down, they're like, who the f- is this guy? Yeah.
Mr. C.
This guy's up to no
Also, I think it's been over 5 years since that happened, so I don't know what the
Oh, the IRS limits. I think they can only touch you like 3 years before or something.
yeah. So see ya.
Yeah, nice little tip.
For right now, like, what is the post-tax? What does the paycheck look like? How much money is that
Yeah. So you're saying after like each month?
each month? Yeah. each
Okay.
month.
Let me just pull my phone because it's the
Yeah, let's whip it out.
Yeah. Yeah. So post tax, just based on my base, it's around. I was just looking. I should know this. Okay, so
Okay,
it's about like 5,400.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. that's
So like
awesome.
that's after taxes, etc. So call it. What would I say? 5,400.
And then 500 is going to the.
So yeah, so now I'm at 4,900 from Roth IRA, and the 401k that's already taken out before it hits my bank account. So now I'm at 4,900, and then I do a few other investments every single month into my brokerage account. So I put $1,000 into 3 different indexes. I do $400 into SPY, which is
Love
like
SPY.
an index fund of
Yeah.
S&P. I do $400 into Dow Jones,
SPY was I was telling you about, Rollins, by the way. Yeah.
Dow Jones, and then I do $200 into NASDAQ
So you're big on just
indexing.
I lost the math actually.
So that was
what you said.
$1,000.
Oh, that was 1,000
Yeah.
total.
Yeah,
Oh,
so now I'm at
wrong.
what, 3,900.
Yeah.
Okay, and then
You're big on index funds. It's like, hey, I'm going to trade a long term.
yes,
Long-term investment.
sure, but then I also, and I actually have recurring investments set up, and let me check right now. So I feel like a lot of people know about like FANG stocks, which is like Facebook, all those FANG stocks,
Yeah.
but something
Can
that
you tell
I'm
for the crowd, Facebook.
yeah, it's Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and Google.
Yeah.
But I've read a bunch of like different reports, and like I like just the industry I work in. I'm like a big believer in like the movement to cloud. And there's a few big cloud companies. So like there's a new acronym. It's called Mount SaaS. So it's Microsoft, Twilio, Shopify, Adobe, Amazon, and Salesforce. So after I put $1,000 into those indexes, I put money into each of those companies. I have recurring investments that literally just happen on the first. And let me check what that is. I want to say it's
I've been dollar cost averaging like crazy, which
Really?
is like, so let's say I bought SPY for
So,
like
yeah,
400 and now it's at 380 right now. They say like, if I buy it at 380 right now, it's gonna DOS color average my like average price point to like 390.
Oh, gotcha. Oh,
You know what I mean?
okay,
So-
yeah.
yeah. So I put $100 into each of those companies every single month. So that's another $600.
So 1600 from the 4900, 1600 down
No,
the
from
drain.
the 3,900 because the 1,000 into.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So the 3900. So you're at like 3300 left for the month.
Be 1,600, yeah, 3,300, and then I put in $300, so $100 into 3 different cryptocurrencies every month, which gets me down to $3,000.
What's the deal with why you're putting in cryptocurrency? Are you a believer in it, or is it more about money?
Honestly, like I put money into Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. And the reason I do like initially is because it was just going up, up, and up, and I was like, okay, why would I not want to invest in this? This is insane.
Yeah.
But then I started trading NFTs, and I actually saw the value in Ethereum, and I was like, well, this is pretty crazy because like before I was like, this is useless, like there's no use for it, and then I actually saw the use case for it. Trading NFTs is like, if this was like shifted to more people, like whether you're going to buy, your groceries or, buying a plane ticket, whatever. And if you're leveraging, cryptocurrency, I do believe that, there's a lot of value that could come from it.
As a payment.
And then, as a payment. And then simultaneously, another thing I was like, this is wild, was I was down in Mexico about a year ago.
Sounds good.
I was down in Mexico about a year ago, and I was trying to rent a surfboard, and my card got declined, or they didn't take like my type of card. They're like cash only or cryptocurrency. I was like, well, what cryptos do you take? And then they listed them off, and I was like, okay, well, yeah, I can just pay you in crypto. And I was like, okay, if like, nothing against Mexico, like Mexico's probably my favorite country I've ever been to. I had so much fun there, but I was like, they are not that developed of a world. And if they're already catching on to this, I feel like a lot of other, like third world, second world countries will start, utilizing cryptocurrency to, just use as
join the ecosystem. It's pretty much running like an ecosystem of like a lot of people.
Exactly.
Which I agree. Yeah, I think crypto is really good for that.
But I do think long term. So the other thing about investing, like everything I do is long term. I'm never really trying to make a quick buck anymore. Yeah. Like, and I've learned that the hard way for like options, etc. It's like everything I do in like I don't plan on touching for like at least 10 years. And I do think 10 years from now, like all those coins will be up, and all those companies that I invested in, all those like companies will be up and to the right.
I'm hoping that ETH goes up.
It's funny with Ron. So she was also in NFTs earlier. She's making money. The one thing that happened was like Ethereum was probably at 3,500. So what's the high?
No, it was at 4,600 when I was so happy. I was like, I'm rich. This is amazing. Let me keep it in here because who knows where this can go to? Because I read it could go to like 6,000, 7,000, whatever. I was so excited. It will. It has to. But then couple months later, it was like below May, right? It was June. It was below 1,000.
Yeah.
I wanted to drown myself.
What's funny is I was telling her, because after their hard work, because they helped me with some stuff too, I was like, yo, you guys should like cash out, enjoy that.
He did tell me to cash it out. I didn't cash it out because I believed that it would go to like 7,000.
Found out 6 months later, they lost like $7,000.
Yeah.
Because of that time they did it.
But it can only go up.
It's not like I predicted
it can go down, but
like,
it can only go up.
Yeah, how I viewed it when I was telling them to cash out, the only reason I was telling her and our other friend to cash out, I was like, hey, you guys worked hard for that. Enjoy that. Like don't put everything you invest. Like take the principal out at least.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And well, you didn't really have principal. It was just pure money.
Yeah,
like, take a couple out is what I was saying.
Yeah,
at least.
I really should have done that.
But if you're a long-term investor like Slade's saying, or Mr.
I know
C,
you're honestly.
I'll beat that out.
You're making me think that maybe I should just keep it in there.
At this point, it doesn't hurt at all.
So that's the same thing for me. You're talking about dollar cost averaging. Like I had invested before this whole, like the market decline. I'd been investing in all these companies, and when I had some additional savings, and when it started going down, wasn't necessarily crypto. It was more so related to a lot of these tech companies. I started putting more money in to try to dollar cost average, and I was like, oh, it's going down. Like it's going to go up, and it just kept falling. So I realized I was being a bit greedy. So it made me realize, which was like honestly the best thing that ever happened to me, and I'm like grateful it happened to me now, because I feel like you really have to kind of go through it yourself to experience it. Because like you can read so many books, like hear people's stories, but until you're actually like, holy shit, I just lost a ton of money, you don't really, it doesn't feel the same. Like you can sympathize, you can empathize,
and it's
whatever.
like because you've seen how much it was. So now anytime you look at it and it's not that much, you're like, this just could be better. And it makes you want to believe in it more. So then it makes you want to like stay behind it.
Yeah. So there was a while like I always try to keep like 6 to 12 months savings just as like an emergency fund. And I remember when the market was
I've heard that a
crashed.
lot from a lot of people, by the way. The 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, I think they say like 3 to 6 months, and if you want to be more safe, like 6 to 12.
Yeah.
And I'll actually give a little tidbit on that in a second. But what I was gonna say is, during that time when it first started crashing, I was like, oh, it's gonna bounce right back up. And this is like before like a ton of like really gnarly inflation things, and like everyone was talking about it. So I just kept dumping money. And then it got to the point where I was like, I dumped the money, and it kept going down. I'm like, well, I can't pull out, and now I don't really have my 6 to 12 month savings anymore. So I learned the hard way, like
That's hilarious.
in times where like the market is booming, in times when it's a very bear market, like you should have your thesis of like what you're gonna do every single month, and just stick to that regardless of where the market is going.
Yeah, I think for me, when it hit the breaking point was there was this project called Mutant Cats. It was an NFT, and from that one project, I was in the middle of Iceland, by the way, and I remember I was like buying and selling and trading and in the van, because the van has Wi-Fi globally. So like every time we go back in the van, whatever, I was in NFTs, right? From Mutant Cats, made like tens of thousands of dollars. And at that point in time, in a van in Iceland, at that point in time, I'm like, all right, I'm making this much money selling a JPEG to like other people that are speculating it's going to be higher. Something is about to happen, you know? And that's what made me personally start to take my money out, because I'm like, this literally makes no sense. But it took 4 to 6 months for me to be right, quote unquote, because I actually didn't reinvest that money into the stock market for like 4 to 6 months till like it really went down. But it took also personal experience of like, I have no business making this money. Something is up.
Well, that's smart, because
You
I
know
feel
what I
like
mean?
I feel like a lot of people will get.
I'm not, I think I'm smart, but like, there's no way
Like,
money
how
should
did
be
I
this
just?
easy.
How did I do that?
Yeah, and at the same time, it's like I feel like most people will be greedy and just want keep going. Sorry, I'm getting a call. Most people will be greedy and just keep getting more and more and more, and then that's what they do, and then they get bit in the ass, and then they really have that. Then they really have that like realization. Versus you, I guess you got lucky, but then you probably saw it happen to so many friends or.
I had it a different way of like.
You're right.
But that's how you lose. My kind of mindset. That's how you lose out on money sometimes too, because like you can never predict the market ever. I could have been
Exactly.
completely wrong, you know, and like
like
skyrocketed.
Exactly. Like I feel like at this point in time, like we're young enough where like I see everything long term, and like why put $100 into those 3
That's
cryptos
true,
is like it's
yeah.
definitely like sure like very very risky. Like I would never tell like my dad who's like trying to set himself up to retirement for do it, but like $100, like I'll go out on like a random Friday night and drop like 100, 200, whatever it is, like on beer. So it's like, well,
we're gonna get there in a second.
yeah, I don't. I'm a little worried about that.
I understand all that stuff. I mean, where we left off there was that you're down to like around 3,000 now for the rest of the month, but we haven't talked about 3,000. You're down to 3,000 just from like investments,
Yeah.
which and savings, right?
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yes.
Do we consider savings already?
Well, that is savings.
Oh, that's what you consider savings.
Correct.
All right, gotcha. I didn't know if there's like a difference.
No, because like, I guess the way it works is like I already have my like 6 month fund, so like now I can just take the money that I built that up long
Got
enough,
you.
so now I can just take the money and put it into.
That's actually
different
exactly what
equities.
I do too. That's hilarious. I
Oh
do
my
it
God,
the same way.
twins.
Yeah. What?
Even
So
it's funny. Also, like any extra money. So the last thing is that built up cash reserve. I used to just have it sitting in my checking for like the longest time, but now with interest rates going way up and up and up, there's these crazy like a lot of cash accounts. Like I'm in Robinhood cash account, and they're literally giving 4%.
What is that? I actually never heard of a Robinhood cash account.
So Robinhood cash account is basically you put your money into their cash account. So like, and they have an APY of 4%. So what that means is it's kind of like a money market. You can't pull it out like in like, I think you can't pull it out like that day. I think it takes like 4 or 5 days. Basically what Robinhood is doing is they're using the money that you put in to like cover other things, doing trades, etc. But
they're a bank, basically, is what you're saying. They're an online
yeah,
bank.
exactly.
Oh, okay, got you. Oh, I didn't even know they offered
Yeah,
that.
I had.
Yeah, it's
no
brand new,
it's
yeah.
it's new. They
That's
also
cool.
I literally
Yeah.
2 days ago
4% is also
4% is
pretty
really
high.
good. Well, like I
Yeah.
saw Wealthfront, another company.
I use Marcus. They're
okay.
like around there. Too.
and they're doing like 3.8% right now.
Yeah.
So like it's just
he knows exactly. He's like, yeah, they do.
yeah, I check just to see where my money should be.
Yeah.
And that's a thing where it's like these like small percentage, it's like 4%. It's like $4 every $100. Like that's like nothing. But like what I view is like $4, whatever it is. Like today, like the compounding, like $1 today is not worth the same as like dollar in 20, 30 years.
And for you to do zero work to keep it there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's sure. Yeah. So like the reason with those banks are just like they don't have physical locations, so they could just like operate in a different way. From what I've been told of why they could
have a higher
interest rate. Yeah.
Wow.
Versus like TD Bank would give you like 0.05% or some shit.
Yeah, I think my mom's a school teacher, and we have Schools First Federal Credit Union, and it's well under like 0.5%.
What is that? Oh, is that a bank?
It's a bank.
Oh, I was like, what is that?
And I think they're supposed to give like more friendlier rates too.
Kind of skipping out over there on y'all. How's the what happens with the 3,000 though that's left?
Yeah,
How do you
so
break that down?
it's funny because we're breaking this out live, and now I'm realizing that the math doesn't add up. So I definitely, I definitely,
I think it is though, isn't it? Well, if something doesn't add up, I'll.
Well, how much did he spend? How much did he spend?
Would you already take my rent off?
No.
Yeah, so take $1,800 for rent. So now I'm at $1,200, bud.
Yeah.
And then my credit card is typically over $1,200. I know that for a fact.
Oh. Well, then, but you have your variable income that.
So yeah, I'm relying on my variable income exactly.
So 1,200 is the real question mark of like you could spend whatever you want.
Correct.
Oh, you said rent was 1,800 by the way.
Yeah, so 3,000, 1,800.
Yeah, that sounds about reasonable. That sounds about New York price.
Sounds pretty good.
So how much did Mr. C spend though?
Oh, so what we found was total expenses for a month was actually 40. Nope, won't say the numbers like that. $4,135.21.
Oh my god.
So you're negative like $3,000, or your variable income covers it.
Did you get variable this month? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you had to, or else.
Or else I'd be bankrupt. I would look like a
so
SBF.
4K is actually a sizable amount.
Yeah, was it a big month? Lots of.
That's actually
special
sizable.
Yeah,
events
it was a
going?
big month. We can say that.
All right.
What
I had to buy some flights because I went to California,
okay.
and then it was both my parents' birthdays, so I bought them gifts, and then I was in California with like buddies. Not that I don't in New York spend a lot of money, but like we went out quite a bit. So
Okay, you know what? It's reasonable.
4K month.
4K month.
What was your biggest cumulative expense? I'm just guessing drinks, food and drinks.
actually, so I think that $4,000 it include food and drinks for sure. Part what's in there is like the flights, a couple of flights, but then also we were going to a football game, and there was like 12 of us going, and I fronted the cost, and then back in.
Okay.
Which was
so
like
this
$1,000.
actually
Which was like
makes
$1,000.
Oh, that was 1,000 beans.
Yeah.
So you got. Do you use credit cards, by the way?
I do.
How many credit cards you got?
I have 3, but I really only use one.
Yeah, which one? Is it?
It's the American Express Sapphire something.
Sapphire.
Yeah.
I think that's a Chase Sapphire.
Chase Sapphire and then American
You just mixed two.
Check my wallet. I have so the two cards I have Chase Sapphire, and then I have American Express Preferred or
You
something.
can spit out all these facts about like this bank's at this percent, whatever. Like doesn't
American Express
no.
Platinum, and then the Chase Sapphire.
Oh, you got the platinum, dude.
Ooh, bang it.
That's a nice one.
You didn't
hear me.
The Chase Sapphire, Chase Sapphire Preferred. Then I have a.
You still got the little tag on it.
Yeah.
too,
Well, the reason I leave the tag on it is I don't know. it's simply because when you go to a bar, my real name is a very generic name, and I can just be like, "Oh, this is my name." Oh, okay. They'll come back with like 3 cards, and we have like, I'm like, it's the one with the little sticker on it. So that's why
honestly,
that's why I
good
leave
little
it on.
hack.
And then
I've never had that problem.
And you have never mind.
yeah,
I have a pretty common name too.
yeah. Well, that's my little trick for not losing your card.
I like it though.
I like that.
And it's sets your card apart. The reason, so the American Express card, I love that card.
You travel a lot too.
I travel a lot, and also I belong to a gym in New York. It's pretty expensive, but they give you $25 back.
Equinox.
Yeah, Equinox. They give you $25 back every single month. So that's $300 right there, and then.
But how much is the per month membership in Equinox? That's. Oh, we didn't even take that into consideration.
That was a part of the credit card.
Oh, that's part of the credit card expense. That's
Oh.
right. How much is Equinox? Like 250?
25. I
225.
think.
280.
Oh, it
280.
went up since.
Yeah, I belong to like a nicer one because I want to go and play basketball.
Oh, sick.
We won't say which one it is, but does it have something that rises the schmool on the rooftop?
It actually doesn't.
Oh, so
The
not
one that
that
actually
one.
don't know.
Not
what
that.
he's
Well,
talking about.
the membership that I have allows me to go to the one with the pool, Schmool pool. But during the winter times in New York, those aren't open. So
It's also a good one.
I go and play basketball. And they have like rock climbing, some yoga classes.
Oh,
Pretty,
wow.
you get a pretty good bang for your buck.
You got a pretty good gym
And-
too, right? You're saying Crunch?
Yeah, I mean, it's not. It's just like the cheaper
Maybe
one.
I'm thinking of a Lifetime.
Also,
Lifetime. It's
Lifetime is
Equinox,
nice.
Lifetime
Yeah, that
are
sounds nice.
really nice. Crunch and like Blink are like when
Blank.
you're not. Blink is maybe a little less than Crunch. It just depends.
The other thing I was going to say is that one with basketball that I go up to, I work remotely. The company I work at, we do have a WeWork in New York, but sometimes I just don't really want to go into an office. And the gym that I go to that has basketball, they also have little office spaces. So like you can go on any given day. It's like
I
a
think I
WeWork
know
S,
exactly which
S
gym
setup.
you go to.
But then simultaneously, they also have like little rooms. Like I'm in sales, so like I obviously need call rooms because I'm talking to
Yeah.
people. So I mean, if you think about it just as a gym, yeah, it's pretty absurd. But
It has all the other.
it has some other amenities
Well, WeWork, it's like what, 30? It's 30. I'm pretty sure it's $30
a day.
a day.
I think
So
I think it's around like $200,
if you're working out of your
$300.
gym, that's actually a good point.
It's a really good. Yeah, it is a bang for your buck.
If you
Pretty
if you
nice. If you
utilize
use
it.
If you
Yeah.
use it, yeah.
Nice.
We were talking about the Soho House membership. So
Oh yeah.
Don't do that.
27 and older, it's $4,700 for every house.
Okay. It's actually not
Per
that bad. I
year.
thought it was way more.
27 and younger, it's less. You get like a 25%
Something like that. Maybe
discount?
30%
I
discount
was
if you're
looking
less,
into it.
if you're under 27. I just turned 27, which I was like, I should have looked earlier. But the individual one is like $2,700, so it's like half price
A year.
a year.
It's kind of.
So I was thinking of for that one, it's like in New York, the best one's the Dumbo House, for instance. But I was trying to do the math in my head too. If like
And what are the benefits you get from that? Is there a gym?
there's a pool, a really nice working area,
Also,
and it's-
sick events. Like
yeah,
you
really
get,
cool
get
events.
to meet a lot
It's
of
really
cool
just
people.
access
like a
to
social
that
club.
community. It's 100% a social club. Yeah,
It's kind of like a country club basically, but without the golf and
Like a city,
no
a
gym.
city club.
a city,
Yeah.
creative, trendy, flirty, kind of vibe. But
Sexy,
I
loose.
don't even know why. Why was it talking? Oh, we're talking about the gym membership.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're looking because you total that. That's like a Soho House membership, except it doesn't have a gym.
Yeah. Oh, and then the other thing that I didn't say is like this summer I was gone for the entire summer. I was traveling. I was in like California for basically 2 months and some other places as well. And my lease had ended, so I didn't have rent payments due for like 3 months. So I was able to leverage
Wait,
that
what'd
as
you do
savings
with
as
all
well.
your stuff?
Storage unit.
Oh.
Well, actually, I put it. A lot of it went into my buddy's buddy's apartment, but I let him borrow my golf clubs for the summer, so
Yeah.
A good
it
trade
was,
off.
it was pretty fair.
For moving from Southern California to New York City, what was that transition like?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was wild. So I came out to New York, really enjoyed it. And on one of the first days I was in New York, one of my friends who I studied abroad with in Barcelona was like, "Hey, my roommate just moved to Miami. Like, you should crash here for a little bit." And I was like, "No, no, no." And
Everyone's just like,
Yeah.
so yeah, I was like, "Yeah, I'll come for a
So
week or
nice.
two. We'll see." And he's like, "Yeah, for sure, come." And I was like, "Sweet." So what happened was I was in like early September. I stayed. I really liked it. I stayed all the way until Thanksgiving.
Oh my god.
So like 2.5 months.
That's a sign. That's a sign.
And
for yourself.
I went home over Thanksgiving. I grabbed all my stuff from the storage unit and moved back to New York.
What do you like about New York City more than?
It's just so different. And it's funny you bring that up because I was talking to one of my friends today, and we grew up in Southern California. He went to school in Arizona for 4 years. He's been back. He lived at home for like the first year out of college, and now he's living in like Newport Beach. It's like 30 minutes from where we grew up. And he was like, "Dude, would be considering moving out to New York just because like I want to change." And like that's the way it is for me. It's like New York is so different than California, in so many different ways. But for me, like being a kid from California, like ultimately I probably want to settle down. Like in the grand scheme of things, it'd be great to settle down like in like the San Diego area. So that being said, I don't see myself like long term staying in New York. But at the same time, I don't think there's a better time to be in New York than in your young 20s. There's so many people that when my parents and other people are like, why do you like about New York? I was like, there's just this intangible energy where everyone is trying to like work their ass off and do as well as they can professionally, but also have as much fun as they can socially.
And we're all doing it together, so the vibe.
Yeah,
is
you
so
like
fun.
you meet a bunch of people that are like super driven, but also like love. It's just a big work hard, play hard mentality, and I feel like that aligns to like my lifestyle that I want to live right now. So yeah,
It's a giant playground. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
so if you're
adults.
if you're contemplating moving from
20-year-olds.
California to New York, what I tell everybody is just give it a try. Come for a year. If you hate it, you can go back to the beach in San Diego.
So we love doing a financial fetish segment. I almost said a bad word.
Ooh.
Quickly, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think?
Can you just
Or what
elaborate?
do you, what do you think of finance? I don't know. You caught me off guard with asking the question. I wasn't
His
prepared.
answer is funny.
What do you mean by financial fetish?
Financial
I
fetish
just
should be like
random.
something that you do that maybe other people don't do, but it like brings you some joy and pleasure.
Yeah.
Really?
Could be even like savings. You know.
No, that's what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, there's a few things that come right top to mind. Like, it's not really a fetish anymore because I feel like everybody else has sorry. I feel like everyone's caught on. But when I was like 18, 19, 20, investing in a Roth IRA, I was like, yeah, I'm the fucking, like, no one else knows this shit.
Honestly, you're right though. I did not know what that was.
But
at
like now
18.
that we're a little bit older, like everyone's kind of caught on. So,
Yeah.
well, this isn't really a financial fetish, but I do like live sporting events, concerts, things on that nature. And I almost always scalp tickets. I don't know if that counts as a
That
fetish,
counts.
but
Outside the venue,
yes.
you
That
trust
counts.
that? Yeah, I guess that definitely counts.
Because no, that's kind of that.
Yeah,
counts.
it happened one time where I got completely scammed. I was trying to get tickets for a Chargers game, and me and my buddies all paid like $150 for these tickets that we thought were legitimate, and they weren't. And I was like, trust me, you'll be fine. I've done this a million times, and it wasn't. So we got totally screwed.
But it's like the adrenaline.
Yeah. But
I love that.
I've gotten some really good saving deals from like live entertainment by just scalping.
How much can you save by scalping?
So
Because I thought they charge more. This is my like me not being ignorant about.
well, it's all I mean, it comes down to simple supply and demand, right? But a lot of times, especially in New York, it's like for instance, like if it's a concert that I'm like not like super keen on going to, I'll be like, I don't really care. Just New York's a little different because they have like that dice, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But
Dice app.
Yeah.
For everyone else,
Yeah.
it's like an app where you could find it.
I guess the thing about like sports games in general, like I remember like the Big East tournament this year, right? Like the tickets, if I were to bought them like a couple months before, were like a few $100s, and then we literally waited until that day. We're like, if we don't get in, it's fine. We'll just go to a bar like right nearby and just watch the game on TV. So we literally had like, we didn't care that much if we didn't get in, but we wanted to go, so we went there and we weren't desperate. We were just like, oh, let's see what the offer is. So people were trying to like, you know, to have these crazy bids, and we're like, no. Like, I literally brought a $50 bill, and that's all I have. And it got to the point where the scalpers were like, shit, I need to get rid of these tickets. So we got the tickets for 50% off. So I
Wow.
guess that was like, 75% off. You would take the
Oh,
200
damn,
number.
really? I
Yeah.
guess it makes it easier in New York City too because you can just go to a bar
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
here afterwards. Like no.
I will remember one time I've been doing this for so long. Remember one time in high school, I told my high school buddies, I was like, all right. So I grew up like 40 minutes from where the Angels play, and it was an Angels Dodgers like freeway series. They both like had really good teams, and there was no tickets online. I'm like, it's fine. We'll just go scalp. We took the train up. We were like,
Let's go scalping today.
we'll just go, we took the train up. We took the train up, and we like got off, and we were like drinking a few beers like on the train. Like it was great. We're like 17, like or 16, like whatever. And we get up there, and I'm like literally like tickets. No bites. Literally none. So it's shot me in the ass a couple of
Wait,
times.
were you screaming tickets?
I was trying to get
Oh my
tickets.
god, it's hilarious.
Hey, ticket.
I was like, who's got tickets? And then
Tickets.
everyone would come up to me, you got tickets? I'd be like, no, I'm looking for some.
Oh my god.
But I don't know. I kind of just find maybe like that's why I'm in sales. Honestly, like I just like the banter. I like the
Yeah.
interactions. And I just like kind of like negotiation, like kind of fucking with people aspect.
Transactions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fucking hilarious.
That's fun. Let's go scalping.
That's a good financial thing.
It's probably my favorite hobby, honestly.
Because I feel like nowadays, though, with the app, because I have looked in apps, not just Dice, but like other apps too, and when the show is like live, and it's still the openers, right? So they're not playing, it'll just drop like 90%.
Mm-hmm.
Or I could just go there and scalp like what you're doing.
And then go to a bar.
Yeah. I think I would get a little bit more anxiety when it came to like going there and just like hoping for the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it works out like 95% of the time.
And you have to
Yeah.
have the mindset you have. Like, I'm not expecting to really get it, but it would be nice. But if not, I'll go do
It'd
something.
be really chill if this happened.
Yeah,
but-
it'd be really chill.
And it usually works out. But yeah, you don't want to drive like an hour and a half. Like, let's say you live in like, you know,
Cleveland.
well, they got the Browns. I was more saying, let's say you live like maybe you live in Cleveland, but your favorite sports team is the
Why is
like
Cleveland
Chicago
so funny?
Bears. 'Cause the place f***ing sucks.
What did you have to do to get into Berkeley? Like, what did your SATs look like? What did your, did you know what you want to do coming in? Like, what was that whole process?
Yeah, so I just pretended to be a rower and
Oh,
got kidding.
no. Do you know that? I'll tell you later.
What?
He made a pop culture reference.
Oh, you're talking about USC? The USC
Yeah. No, so what did you want to know? Like what my extracurriculars were, things along that
What
nature?
did you do to get into UC Berkeley?
Yeah. It's funny you asked that because my little sister's actually a senior right now, so I'm helping her with all this stuff. So it's kind of like bringing me back to those days. So like obviously like the first thing is school. Like I got really good grades, tried hard in school. Did like a bunch of different extracurriculars. Like I got involved in student government, like played sports, volunteered. And then I think honestly like the main thing is think about like kind of similar to like when you're applying for jobs, what I referenced earlier. It's like how do you set yourself apart? So like there's so many kids all around the world that have good grades, good like SAT scores, great extracurriculars. So it's like what it really comes down to, I feel like, is your essays.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent a lot of time just like, working really hard on my essays and trying to, get a really good story across and show who I am as a person.
So you think the UC Berkeley admissions office is actually reading the shit out of those essays? Like they're actually thoroughly reading
Yeah.
those?
Well, the thing is, it's funny because you asked what I wanted to major in as well. And at Cal, Berkeley, you don't apply into the business school until after in like midway through your sophomore year, and it's basically reapplying to colleges.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought the way I think about it was like, okay, there's so many kids that have really good grades, good extracurriculars, like they had gone into Berkeley in the first place to obviously like deserve it. There's basically there's not enough supply for the demand. And what I thought it really comes down to is the essays for that again. So yes, I do think that they read it. I think like they take like, they take all these people, they probably like, let's say they have 100,000 applicants. Like they're like, okay, we'll have like 3 piles. The first pile is like, we're going to disqualify immediately. The second pile is like 50-50. And those are the people I'm sure they dive like really deep into the essays. And third pile is like 100% yes.
Mm-hmm.
So tying this back all together, could you talk about a little bit about where you want to be at financially in the future and how you plan on getting there?
Yeah, 100%. So I think about a lot of my goals like pretty long term, but I don't think much further past like 10 years down the line, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, 10 years is a long.
Yeah.
So like I know where I want to be like professionally, but like where I want to, like how much money I want to have built up, etc. Like I don't really have like an exact number. What I do know is like long term. So like when I'm 20 years from now, 25 years from now, I'll be which is still like I'll be like 45, 50. Or like I want to call it like a financial independence. So like I still fully want to be working, but I want to be able to kind of choose exactly what I want to do. Rather than, I need to do this job because I need X amount of money.
Yeah.
So how am I going to get there? I think just like staying true to like my investment thesis of like, every single month investing in a Roth IRA, my, 401k, hopefully invest in real estate, in a reasonable amount of time. I've worked at I am working at an early stage company right now. Fingers crossed things go well. And I plan to continue working at early stage companies. So hopefully, I don't really bake that into like what my long-term outlook would be, but if one of those like has an exit, hopefully that would be a good lump sum of money, which should help out my long-term finances.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I appreciate you for hopping on the show, by the way. I know it takes a lot to come on here and talk about your finances and whatnot. So how is it? This is your first time in like a podcast.
Yeah, this is my first time ever being on a podcast, I will say. I just hate hearing myself talk. So like whenever I'm gonna be watching these recordings, I'm gonna be like next.
Yeah, you sound great.
But hopefully, like I was saying, like hopefully some of the knowledge I brought to the podcast will help people, but also doing this, maybe like digging into my finances, maybe realize there's so much that I don't know about not only finance in general, but also just my own personal finances. So I need to kind of come through that with a fine-tooth comb. And yeah, I'm fortunate to be on here. Appreciate you taking the time to have me on. It was fun.
And
Yeah,
first
for sure.
show of 2023.
Yeah,
Hey,
let's crush it
for
this
sure.
year.
Yo,
6K into Roth IRA.
That reminded me of ChatGPT next time. We got
Oh,
AI,
yeah.
folks. So if any crazy questions come up, we got AI to answer them.
Chat GBT.
But like Mr. C mentioned, the whole point of the show is really to show you how other New Yorkers are managing their finances today. And with that, hopefully you can learn something to become financially independent on your own. Now, he used to be certified, but not anymore, so you can take this with a grain of salt.
It might have expired, but it might have not.
Yeah.
So
we're taking it with like full advice.
Yeah.
As if he's a financial advisor.
Roth
but
IRA.
Yeah, I'll try to take a 1% fee. So I'll give you my
If
routing
you start
number.
doing well.
But thanks so much for tuning in. And Roz, if you want to kick us out.
Happy New Year.
Let's
and
go.
see you in 2 weeks.
Let's go. Happy New Year. Peace out.